This is a conceptual vision of an imaginary Khartoum. It does not imply that Khartoum should take precedence over other cities. On the contrary, I believe that Khartoum rebuilding program should not be hasted. Before we act, we must first build a national consensus around a shared vision and develop a comprehensive urban strategy. Our national urban plan should promote a balanced hierarchy of human settlements by strengthening secondary cities. This approach will in fact help resolve Khartoum's current problems. In the past, we concentrated our efforts on the capital, a policy that ultimately backfired. Nonetheless, Khartoum remains important, whether or not it becomes the capital again, because of its strategic, prime and genius location, because of its centrality within Sudan and Africa, and because of the unique beauty of the trilogy of its towns, with rivers flowing between them. The mere fact that Khartoum is situated at the confluence of two great rivers and the birthplace of one of the greatest rivers in the planet testifies for its importance. Historically, Khartoum was perceived as the southernmost point accessible to Western civilization in Africa before entering its heart of darkness. Geographically, it sits at the boundary between the vast African desert and the savanna belt. Khartoum was also central to Lord Kitchener's vision of a railway connecting Alexandria to Cape Town, with the city conceived as a major African trade hub. In fact, as recently as a few years ago, Lufthansa viewed Khartoum as a potential hub connecting Asia, South Africa, and Latin America. Plans for a modern cargo village at the new airport were considered, but Khartoum lost that opportunity to Kigali. The new plan for rebuilding Khartoum must learn from history and the scars of war, and must resolve the legacy issues that have led to the current catastrophic situation. It should promote peace, inclusiveness, and resilience. It must honor the city's geographic and cultural context and reflect the symbolism Khartoum holds for many Sudanese. A major challenge and priority is the need to depopulate Khartoum. While this is difficult, we can begin by transforming refugee reception centers and secondary cities into attractive, well-serviced communities, encouraging people to continue their lives where they are. Being a capital does not stipulate being the most populous city. Abuja ranks number 12 in Nigeria. Washington, D.C. is only 2% of the U.S. population. Other capital cities in Rwanda, Uganda, Tanzania, Nigeria, and Pakistan also host less than 1% of their national population. In contrast, Khartoum's case is extreme. Even by these conservative estimates, a population of 3 million in Khartoum and Khartoum North represents an overwhelming concentration of people and resources. It appears, therefore, an excessively primate city, Sudan's only major urban center, overweighing the combined significance of the next 13 towns. As a result, it monopolizes energy, budgets, infrastructure, industry, and opportunities. Another major concern is our neglect of the Nile and its surrounding environment. Waterfronts, the Sunut forest, and seasonal waterways are underutilized or ignored, often positioning environmental and social risks. Large unplanned urban blocks disrupt traffic and create rigid urban forms. The city's linear development along main asphalt roads, lined with shops, industries, and all public services, leaves inner neighborhoods neglected and underserved. Urban sprawl, chaotic land use, substandard infrastructure, and a shortage of green spaces have turned Khartoum into a vast, disorganized settlement, a large village as said. The existing housing system based on three segregated classes and outdated building standards urgently needs revision. Large areas along the Nile remain underdeveloped. Tuti Island, for instance, was long ignored, but once development began, it was quickly overtaken by unregulated market forces, causing further problems. Floodplains, creeks, seasonal streams, and open drainage trenches have been left inaccessible, posing both security and ecological risks. Unlike the organic flowing nature of the Nile and its tributaries, Khartoum's rigid grid-like urban plan shows a lack of respect for the natural landscape. Even so, Khartoum has fared better than Durman and Khartoum North, which have both expanded into desert areas, leaving prime riverfront land unused, left to graveyards, fishermen, wild vegetation, or rural-style agriculture. Important institutions like the Parliament, Nilain Mosque, Islamic University, National Radio and TV all face the river but remain physically cut off from it. The very geographical center of Khartoum, one sees a barren landscape of weeds and extensive water surfaces in tranquil stillness, in stark contrast to Cairo, where the Nile is vibrant and alive day and night. In Khartoum, prime riverfront land is either exploited for rural agriculture or frozen in expectation of inappropriate high-rise developments. In total, the proportion of wasted or underutilized land, especially floodplains and water surfaces, is enormous. The comparison with the area of the current Khartoum airport on the map clearly illustrates that. There are huge closed areas, including military zones, the railway terminal, graveyards, industrial areas, and the like, forming massive unpassable zones that block movement and disrupts the city's continuity. In totality, the list of urban issues to be revised is too long to be encompassed here. So what's the way forward? Let us consider the Hoyt model, also known as the sector model. Although it is not the ideal urban planning model, it proved successful after the Second World War and was implemented in many European cities or parts of cities. This model is intended for establishing a city from scratch in a context where land is free from ownership constraints or physical barriers. Khartoum, of course, presents a different reality. However, the priority at this stage is to develop a guiding concept. The extent to which this plan will be realized depends on the creativity and expertise applied during the detailed study, planning, and design phases that follow. The model depicts a city growing outward in a circle with a high-rise central business district at the core. In front of the CBD lies a residential zone divided into three sectors, high, middle, and low-income areas, based on the standards of the time. Behind the central business district is a transportation belt designed for fast and heavy traffic, accommodating industries, warehouses, and similar functions. Beyond this industrial belt is another residential zone, typically a third-class area housing workers who serve the industries and the CBD. To use this model to analyze and test the current urban situation in Khartoum, let us take a look at Khartoum itself in light of the Hoyt model. Since 1959, when the Oxiadis proposed it, Greater Khartoum's master plan included three ring roads. The first connected the older bridges around the city center. The second followed the construction of a new set of bridges, but the third ring road remains incomplete. The Dabasim Bridge is unfinished, Sobo Bridge is inappropriately located, and Daily Bridge hasn't yet been started. Currently, crossing Sobo Bridge requires a long detour, since creating a direct link from the basin to the existing Sobo Bridge would clash with current urban planning. An alternative location for a new bridge has been suggested here. Along the third ring road connecting the basin and this proposed new bridge, the high-speed transportation corridor corridor of the new Khartoum is suggested. It is an area that could be cleared with minimal disruption. It consists mostly of low-rise buildings, inconveniently located, open sewage leaching fields, warehouses, and industrial workshops. This land could be repurposed under a new visionary plan centered around the green hub at the Nile confluence. Omdurman and Khartoum North also need to be reoriented towards the central green hub. Each of the three towns should maintain its own unique identity while working together, sharing roles, and developing in harmony. An efficient and integrated transportation system must tie them together, particularly bringing Omdurman Center closer to the other two centers. The old Khartoum Center may remain as a secondary center. This transport corridor will carry fast and heavy traffic, trains, and logistics, and behind it should lie all heavy infrastructure, major industries, the airport, military areas, warehouses, graveyards, and so on and so forth. In front of this corridor, a new business district should spread from the Nile to the Nile with high-rise offices, hotels, and special housing for business visitors, tourists, and the like. The main residential area will begin north of this city center, stretching towards the Niles, transitioning from medium to low-rise buildings, and ending in expansive green spaces. The colonial part of the city at the tip of this extent will receive due repair, and the whole river front areas will be designated for recreation, cultural events, and sports. Green belts will line major roads, surround the city center, and separate different functional zones, and ideally include canals linking the blue and the white Niles, creating a network of water bodies. Yes, this is a dream, but dreams are the first steps towards a better reality. It is a dream of a peaceful green Khartoum and a renewed Sudan. Thank you.